Other one, my man Raheem is emailing us again. He says, "Hey Billy C, it's me, Raheem. I was wondering if you could discuss who your top five trainers are of all time. My dad says Emmanuel Stewart is his favorite. I'd like to get your top five. Thanks for the show. He thinks we're the best. So for all those guy that was referring to us as the media guys, um, great question, and thank you for that. I agree. Listen, when I was thinking, I pre-read this and I jotted some names down just before the show, and as I'm thinking of them, and I know I'm missing guys, but I kept going. So, in no particular order, these are my favorite trainers. When I think of a good trainer, these are the trainers that come to mind. So, um, in no particular order, Manny Stewart. I mean, he's in the discussion. There's no question. His what made him so special is that Manny Stewart had a knack for having the ability to take a fighter, an established fighter. And he started out with young fighters. I mean, look, Tommy Hearns, right? He had the Kronk Gym. They were all quality fighters, but as he got to be a better and better trainer, which he did, he kept improving. He was able to take some top tier fighters and turn them into great fighters. And obviously, the two names that come to mind are, of course, Lennox Lewis and Vladimir Klitschko. Both guys that, Klitschko, arguably, you could make a strong case. Dax Khan always used to say on this show, you could make a strong case that the guy fought for a decade, not losing a round. His problem was he was not exciting. So you need the excitement. That's the whole point about when I was talking about exciting fighters early in the show and why they're so important. The next one I came up with was Buddy McGirt. He's a guy. You hear me talk about him a lot now. He's a guy right now that if I'm a young fighter or I'm managing a young fighter and I don't have a trainer or I have a trainer and we need to add somebody, Buddy McGirt is the guy. Of course, you got to mention Angelo Dundee. Two most famous fighters that he trained, Muhammad Ali, Sugar Ray Leonard. So you got to give him credit. Ray Arcel, Roberto Duran's trainer, one of the greatest trainers of all time. And he was in the sport for, I think, 75 years. I mean, amazing, amazing. Um, I like Roberto Garcia. Roberto Garcia is a good trainer. Um, Joel Diaz, he's another good trainer that quality. They make their fighters better. Guys like Diaz and Garcia. Another guy that popped into my head was Lomachenko's dad, how do you Anatoly Lomachenko, Vasily Lomachenko's papa. I think he's a great trainer. Give him credit for what he did with Lomachenko, and I've seen him train some other fighters that also looked good. And two trainers, three trainers that come to mind from yesteryear that you can't forget. First of all, Customato. And I'm not talking about Customato famously with the Mike Tyson story, but he was also orchestrated Floyd Patterson to a heavyweight title and regaining it, and he was very successful in avoiding my man Sonny Liston for as long as he could. But two old time trainers that you should keep in the conversation, and if you don't know much about these two guys, punch them up. Jack Blackburn. He was a former fighter and was most famous for being Joe Lewis's trainer. He had some really good fighters and was a great trainer. And Sugar Ray Robinson's trainer, Harry Wiley. Those are the guys that I thought of. So some of these guys that you may not have heard of, look them up. Look and see what I mean. Like these, they fought too. you see a lot of rah-rah men today that, they might be in the gym pumping iron, but they're certainly not in the squared circle.